Welcome to Unlockin Levels, helping you reach new levels in your potential.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy CL the Source back with another episode of Unlockin Levels. Thank you for tapping in. Hope all is well. In today's episode, I want to talk about the power of perspective. And I'm going to start this episode off with a quote from Blaise Pascal. It's a well-known quote. I've heard Naval Ravikant refer to this quote before. Several people, when you're on this personal development journey, several people have referred to this quote. And I don't really know much about who Blaise Pascal is, but I know he's from like the 16th century, a philosopher from France, super smart dude. And his quote goes like this: all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. That's by Blaise Pascal. And I'm going to break that quote down and tell you what I think about it. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. All right. So what that tells me is oftentimes we see our problems, we perceive our problems, and when we don't kind of give it the time that it deserves, we don't marinate on it, we don't sit in a room free from distraction from other people, from our devices, from the world, and we don't sit in a room quietly alone and let the answers kind of reveal themselves to us and just sit there and just quietly try to figure solutions out to whatever perceived problem we have, then the problems just seem to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I have a good friend of mine. He's always said something along the lines of like, when you have problems and you're just out there looking for distractions, whether that's substances or going out there into the world and just ignoring your problems, and you wake up and finally get sober, your problems then have puppies. So it's like your problems get bigger the more you ignore them, the more you try to distract yourself from them, rather than spending deliberate time alone trying to figure out what you need in that specific situation to do to solve it, to create some sort of answer to what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't do that if you're constantly being tugged and pulled away and pulled this way and that way, and constantly just getting lost in the sauce with all these different distractions, right? Whether it's going out, being around family, sometimes you're not going to be able to hear yourself and figure out the answers that you need for yourself if you don't pull yourself away from those distractions. And I think that's exactly what this quote is about, right? Just the inability to sit alone quietly in a room. A lot of us get way too bored, right? We have to kind of revert to going to our phone, going to video games, going to TV, even reading a book, right? That's a distraction, right? So your inability to sit still and just look at your situation, analyze your life and the specific challenge that's going on in your life right then and there, rather than sitting there and dealing with the discomfort of trying to figure out a solution to it. What do? Most oftentimes we start to just start getting attracted to our distractions, and that right there, the more time we spend away from trying to become solution oriented and letting those answers come to us, like I just said earlier, if we don't do that, our problems just get bigger and bigger as time goes on, and it gets worse and worse. And then when that happens, things start to feel even heavier than earlier on, and it'll just get worse and worse. And then, not to mention, life keeps going, right? So one problem could also not only lead to another, but just by life going on, by the course of life just continuing to go on, something else could happen, right? Something else catastrophic. And then, of course, next thing you know, it just compounds one after another. And then you feel like you're in this downward spiral where you can't get out. You feel like the victim of the situation. You feel like the world is on top of you and on your shoulders, and you can't carry it. It's such a heavy burden to carry that you feel it's impossible to get past. When in reality, when we have something going on, if you were to just sit still, quietly in a room, bored and all, eventually what you'll do is be able to sit with that thought, with that situation, whatever's going on in your life, with that perceived problem, and eventually the answers will come to you. You'll start to say, oh, where can I start? Whatever problem you're going through, what can I attack in this moment right now? You know what I'm saying? What can I do to start making progress in getting myself into a better situation or correcting the situation, whatever the case may be? But that can only happen when you're intentional with your time, right? When you're not being distracted, when you're not ignoring what you need to be doing. And I think that the more we do that, like I said, the problems just fester and get worse and worse, and it seems to just feel insurmountable at times, right? But there's also like other quotes that from Stoic philosophy that I could just chop down over here too, like the one about I forget if it's Epictetus that said this or not, but the one that says we suffer more in our imagination than we do in real life. And I think that's a lot of times where like a perceived problem is a lot bigger than it really is in that moment, because oftentimes if you sit with yourself long enough, what you'll start to do is start to realize like, yo, this is not as big as it seems in the moment. This is not as big as I myself am making this out to be. And when you start to realize that, the stress starts to leave your body, leave your mind, leave your spirit, and you start to get more calm. Through that calmness, you get clarity. Through that clarity, you see the direction that you could be moving in and the things that you could be doing to better your situation. And through that, you'll be able to create action. And through those actionable steps and processes, you'll start to see results. You'll start to get motion, get traction, get into that flow state. Next thing you know, you're out of that situation. You know what I'm saying? And going back to the original point of why I even brought that quote up is because I wanted to talk about perspective and the power of perspective. And what we just talked about entirely right there is basically taking that power into your own hands and saying, you know what, I'm going to change my perspective. I'm going to manage my perspective on this situation. I'm going to give myself time to assess this situation, break it down, look at it, deal with the discomfort of looking at this situation. No matter how insurmountable it seems right now, moment, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to look it in the eye head on, and I'm going to figure out the best course of action on what I should do to start making my situation better, right? And when you do that and you start to get in motion, it's going to be difficult at first. There's no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the degree of difficulty of how hard your situation is to kind of get out of, right? But when you, first of all, think about it and you start to, develop a plan and you let those answers come to you and you get that clarity and you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. You have that light bulb moment, right? Where it's like, ding, I know what I need to do. And then you start doing it. You do that, you do the next thing, you start creating momentum. And this all started because you changed your perspective. You gave yourself time, you gave yourself intentional energy and time to figure out what you need to do to better your situation, right? What steps you need to take to start moving yourself back in the right direction, whatever direction that is for you. And I think honestly, when we do that, and I try to do that as often as possible. I mean, I do it every day, to be quite honest with you. You know what I'm saying? And I do it proactively. I don't just do it when there's something bad happening in my life, or like there's some sort of problem or issue or challenge in my life. I do it every night and every morning so that I can assess my situation. I can intentionally be with myself, to hear myself think, to hear my thoughts, to get to know myself better. And when I start to do that, I start to realize I'm in control of myself, and I'm learning how to become more and more in control of myself, right? And it all starts with your perspective. It all starts with the way you see things. Perception is how you perceive things, how you see things, right? And when you start to see things in a different way, you can see a clearer path forward. when you see a clearer path forward, you're able to start getting in motion, start putting one foot in front of the other, right? And you start climbing out of that hole. And in due time, you continue managing your perspective, which manages your motion, which manages your actions. Eventually, you're going to get yourself into a much better space. And you realize you're not out of control as much as you think you are. You actually have more control than you actually think you do. So it's a beautiful thing, honestly, when you are able to kind of just be brutally honest, allow the answers come to you to come to you, and you start making decisions to start getting in motion. It ain't easy, especially earlier on, you know what I'm saying? And I'm well aware that we all have different circumstances, some a lot more difficult than the others, you know what I'm saying? And that's not lost on me for sure. So I have empathy and compassion for anybody that's going through something super difficult, but I personally believe that anything's possible, you know what I'm saying? And when you have all these different perceived problems and issues and challenges, it's easy to get overwhelmed, but at the same time, the beauty in that is like you can also change your perspective. You could say, look, there's all these different problems I can choose to attack, and let me start by choosing the first one I want to attack, and attack that full force, knock that thing out, move on to the next one, knock that thing out, move on to the next one, knock that thing out, move on to the next one. Keep going and just keep going, one foot in front of the other, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen in one fell swoop, but when you develop motion and you start creating momentum in your life, you get into that flow state, you start grooving, you get into the zone, and you get addicted to this shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really do get addicted to wanting to get better, to wanting to better your situation, because you realize it's not what's happening outside of me that is making this situation worse for me. It's me not understanding my ability to control myself, not understanding that I can actually do things differently. I can learn how to control myself better and start making better decisions to get myself into a better situation. Now, this is going to take a lot of persistence. It's going to take a lot of strength, inner strength, discipline. It's going to take you making better decisions, and you will stumble, you will fall. But the biggest thing is you got to get up and keep going. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. That's really what the formula is. And I get it. Things are going to feel really hard, really difficult. You're going to want to give up. And I get it. Things may not be better right away. But if you just stick with it, you see this thing all the way through, and you just maintain that level-headed perspective of like, I'm going to get myself out of this situation. I'm going to put myself into a better situation. Guess what? In due time, you will find yourself in a better situation, because once you train your mind, your body will follow. The natural chemistry in your body will start to follow what your mind feels, right? Because when you're feeling low and you're feeling like the weight of the world and all the pressure is getting to you, that's a natural thing, I understand. But when you've spent enough time learning how to train your mind, craft your perspective towards things, that is going to help you already see a path through, a path forward, a path above, a path, whatever, a path that's going to get you into a better place. And it starts with you. It starts with your mind and your mindset, right? And that is your perspective. And that is the power of perspective. We all have the ability to change our perspective. We can choose our perspective. That's one of the things I love about affirmations, right? Affirmations basically declare who you are and what I am going to do today. Like, I truly believe in the power of the word and the energy you put in behind your word, right? Like, when you wake up in the morning and you feel sluggish and you feel tired and the weather's cold and you want to just sit and lay in bed and this, that, and the third, that's understandable. I get it. But in that moment, what you can do is you can choose in your mind, be like, you know what, today's going to be a great day. I don't care if it's cold outside. I don't care if I'm not exactly where I want to be just yet. Today is going to be a great day. Good things will come to me today, because the energy that I put out is going to dictate that. And I've declared so. And I truly believe in the power of like anything that follows the two words I am. You say I am going to have a good day, it's gonna happen, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be challenges, that there won't be difficulties that you're gonna have to overcome, right? But at the end of the day, when you start off with that energy, you choose the energy that you are going to move throughout the day with, you have already won. Because it doesn't matter what happens. It's you. You're the one that's choosing to dictate how your day is going to go. You get what I'm saying? And when you do that, man, you start to truly realize how powerful you are. That individual power is so strong within you, and you've just probably lost touch with that at some point. It's happened to me. It's happened to me in the past. It's happened to me most recently. It's going to happen to me in the future. But that's the process, right? That's like the whole idea of like being able to choose how you perceive things, right? Choose how you're going to go about living your day. Choose the energy that you're going to move throughout your day with, right? With the decisions that you make, all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then God willing, you'll have tomorrow to be able to do some more of that, make more progress. And it all starts with perspective. That's why perspective is so powerful. You know what I'm saying? And I think part of the reason why we feel like we are out of control or feel like we don't have any control in whatever's going on in our life, because, you know, we're being fed a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of emotional things that are being fed to us, basically making us feel like we're out of control, that we don't have any control in what's going on in the world. We don't have any control of our own lives. We don't have any control over the prices and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, some of that's true, right? Something, you know, but what you forget to realize, and what that makes you forget to realize, is that you actually have control of yourself. It doesn't matter what's going on out there. You can choose how you want to move throughout this world. Play the game how it goes. And that's just as simple as that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you realize, like, hey man, this is the game. I'm the player, and I got to figure out how I'm going to move throughout each day, how I'm going to level up, how I'm going to get myself into a better situation. And it all starts with your mind, with your perspective. Your mindset is everything. It's literally everything, because your mood gets dictated by your mindset, by your attention, by what you believe in, by what you perceive. You know what I'm saying? And listen, I'm at a level where I'm just scratching the surface on just how powerful I know I can be. You know what I'm saying? Every day I'm just trying to get better, that 1% better attitude, trying to make good decisions, trying to, you know, put some positive energy out there into the world every single day. Try to be as mindful as possible with what type of energy I have. And that takes a lot of self-awareness. And that's another key ingredient to this whole thing. You got to have self-awareness. You got to be able to realize and recognize when you are in a low state of frequency, and you can choose to pick yourself up out of that. Again, it may not happen right away, and it's going to take some persistence. It's going to take you to actually be a little stubborn with yourself and be like, I'm not giving into this low negative frequency. I'm not going to stay in this space forever. I'm going to pull myself up out of this. I'm going to have a great day today. God got my back. I got my back. You know what I'm saying? And when you truly believe that, and you move with that intentionality, and you move with that type of spirit and vigor and energy, damn, I'm telling you, your aura becomes different. Your energy is different. And people can sense that. They can feel that. You know what I'm saying? And it don't matter what anybody else is doing. It don't matter what the world's doing. It don't matter what the weather is out there. It matters what you're doing. It matters what you think, and what you say, and what you do, and how you treat other people, how you treat the world, and how you show up to the world. And guess what follows? The results. Everything that you're looking for, it follows. You just got to trust the process, man. Trust, it starts in the mind first, and then it turns into the way you speak, the way you feel, the way you move, the decisions you make. All of it is connected. And part of the human experience too, don't get me wrong, is like, we're going to have lulls. We're going to have peaks and valleys, ups and downs, twists and turns in this life. That's what makes this life fun. That's what makes this game fun. You know what I'm saying? I know that might seem weird to somebody else that might be hearing this, be like, well, what's fun about, being down in life? I'm not gonna say that's fun, right? But I'm gonna say, like, that's where the hero's journey comes from. You know what I'm saying? That struggle. Without struggle, there is no progress. You know what I'm saying? So without that adversity, you won't have nothing to kind of go up against, right? Everything will just be mundane, like, and that right there creates character. It builds strength. It builds character. It builds just resilience. And again, it all starts with perspective. You can reframe whatever you're going through, anything you're going through. You can choose how you wish to perceive it. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to be sad when everybody else is sad. You could choose to find a different way to look at it. For me personally, I always believe that in everything in life, there's some sort of a lesson. I always look at something difficult, even losing someone in my life, right? Like most recently, I've had to, my family and I have experienced losing or the passing of some loved ones in our lives, and those were really difficult things to go through. You know what I'm saying? Seeing your loved ones go through it, but even in those moments, I was observant of the whole situation, observant of myself and how I was naturally feeling, but I was also choosing my perspective. You know, it's like, instead of saying, it's like a subtle switch. For me, I was saying, instead of, oh, we lost this person, I'm going to just say, look, we're here to celebrate this person's life, the way this person lived, remember the great moments, you know what I'm saying? And believe that eventually we'll meet again, you know what I'm saying? And I clearly know it's not the same as like being together here on this physical realm, on this earth together, right? Like, you know, we're not going to be able to have those moments like we used to have, right? But it helped me develop so much perspective in the way that, like, how I deal with uncomfortable situations. And one of the most uncomfortable situations is talking about death, right? For me, I looked at it as emotional as it was to experience these different times in my life when you're no longer going to get to see other people that you know that have been around your whole life, that you love, that you have such a deep bond with. I just was able to figure out, like, hey man, you know, at some point it really, what it did for me was it reminded me, like, at some point I'm going to meet that same destiny. I'm going to meet that same fate. We all are, right? And for me, again, it was just another crucial reminder that you can't take none of this time for granted. You really can't. And that was the perspective that I chose. I could have easily been in my feelings, which I don't think anybody would have blamed you, you know? But the way you choose to see things and the way you choose to use your energy is super important, and that's within your control. And again, rather than looking at it as a sad thing, I wanted to celebrate that person's life. You know what I'm saying? Celebrate that loved one's life, and try to manage my energy, not only for myself and for that person, but for my family and those around me, and, you know, create a safe space for them to grieve the way they needed to grieve and things like that. And everybody's allowed to feel how they want to feel. That, I think, that doesn't even need to be said, but the whole point of what I'm saying is basically you can choose your perspective on it. And for me, I just looked at it as like, man, you know what? It's just another reminder of, like, don't take none of this stuff for granted. Be here in the present moment. Tell the people you love them. Try to live life without remorse, without regret, without resentment, right? And live here in the present moment. And that's the perspective that I chose, even in some of the most difficult situations. And it's helped me. It's helped me grasp life more, appreciate the fullness of life while we have it. And it's something that's going to be forever embedded in me as I move forward throughout my life. You know what I'm saying? In the decisions I make. And it just makes me appreciate the time I have way more. Other than that, man, I mean, perspective is we ran down the whole thing, right? Perspective, it starts with you. It starts with the way you see things. And going back to the quote that I said earlier, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone, right? When we're so caught up in the noise of everything, we're so swept up in the emotions and the different energy and all of these different things, we're no longer in control of ourselves. And when we lose control of ourselves, that's when things can get a little wicked, right? That's when things can get a little strange. So it's about assessing the situation, and analyzing where, what you need to do to kind of make your situation better, creating the different perspective that we talked about this entire podcast episode. You and you alone have the power to change your perspective, right? You can learn different things. You can view things a different way, right? You can manage the way your mind thinks. But we tend to forget that when we are swept up in all these distractions and, and I get it, it's difficult, but that's why it's so important to spend that intentional time alone, free from distraction, free from the opinion of other people, this, that, and the third, and just understanding who you are at the deepest level is going to help you change the perspective that you have, change it to what you want to believe, how you want to see it as, right? Because it's your life, it's nobody else's. So when you start to do that, you start to, again, with enough time, with enough practice and enough patience through this whole thing and persistence, all the P's, when you have all those lined up, eventually you're going to create the perspective that you choose to move forward in the world with. And that's going to create the experience that you have. And whether it's an enjoyable one or not, that's going to be on you, right? So everything begins and ends with you. It starts and ends with you, but it also, it all starts in the mind, right? First, before anything can become real. So that's the power of perspective in a nutshell. That's all I got for today. And, I really hope that a lot of this stuff landed. And again, I'm still very much on my journey. Every single day I'm learning, I'm picking things up. I'm hyper aware of not only myself, but the world and how things are moving. And I'm ultra sensitive to energy, and I'm picking it up, and that's how I learn. And I'm learning through, from other people. I'm learning from books. I'm learning from historical figures. I'm learning from my own personal life experience. And it's revealed a lot. And, I'm very thankful for the journey, and I'm grateful that I get to share it with you guys. And whoever's over here, whoever made it this far, man, I really appreciate y'all, man. Thank you so much for tapping into Unlocking Levels once again. And I will definitely see you guys again soon. But until the next time, man, learn to manage that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you're going through, learn to manage your perspective. It's going to provide the biggest payoff that I can't even describe in words for it. You know what I'm saying? So just do that. You know what I'm saying? Free yourself, get yourself into a space where you won't allow yourself to be distracted. Spend intentional time with yourself to develop that perspective. Let the answers come to you, because ultimately when you're sitting in that space alone, free from distraction, you're going to find the answers, because the answers will reveal themselves to you. You'll be able to hear yourself clearly. You'll hear God more clearly, and the answers will reveal themselves to you. So with that being said, man, big love to all y'all. Up until the next time, man, thank you for tapping into Unlocking Levels. I'm out. Peace.